Welcome back to another edition of Ash's Fantasy Facts right here on ArizonaSports.com. We get ready to head into week number 11 of the NFL season. Now we have a game on Thursday night. The New York Jets heading to Denver to take on the Donkeys and Tim Tebow. So keep that in mind. Plus, the final four teams that will be sitting this one out. Four final bye teams are Indy, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, and Houston. So keep that in mind. Now, by the way, last week, Ash's Fantasy Facts, we had a couple misses. My bad. We did have a couple hits as well. Laurent Robinson, wide receiver from the Cowboys. And by the way, if you got him, go ahead and put him in your lineup once again. But let's try to make it real good for week number 11. Let's start at the quarterback position as we do each and every week. Couple quarterbacks I kind of like this week, especially if you're in a bind with the bye week, the final one. Carson Palmer, the quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. Finally, he's getting it. He's back. He looks good. He's putting up decent numbers. And again, if you're in a bind, Carson Palmer at Minnesota, he's no Aaron Rodgers, but he could get you a couple touchdowns and some nice yards against a lackluster Minnesota secondary. So Carson Palmer, a good start. And another guy I kind of like this week at the quarterback position is Matt Castle. Monday night at New England. Now, New England will win this game, but New England was basically perfect last week against the Jets. I don't know if they'll be perfect again on defense. Plus, Castle and the Chiefs will probably be trailing, so he'll have to throw. Kind of like Matt Castle if you need him this week. Now, a couple tread lightlies at the quarterback position this week. One of those tread lightlies is Phillip Rivers. I've got Phillip Rivers on my team, and I'm about done with this guy. He's had a couple good games all year. He's been very inconsistent. There's a little bit of infighting going on with him and Vincent Jackson. The Chargers are just a mess. Plus, they're going to Chicago in the Windy City to take on the Bears, who's a pretty good football team and a good defense. I just don't like Phillip Rivers. I'm actually looking for a replacement in my league for him as we speak. And I'm also going to tread lightly just a little bit with Tony Romo. I liked him as a start last week on the road against Washington, who's been awful as of late. But something just tells me that Romo might not put up the great fantasy numbers this week. Let's move on to the running back position. Now, when we go to the running backs, I'm going to give you two guys this week, not necessarily to jam into your starting lineup for week number 11, but two guys you should look for on the waiver wire, pick up, and see. One of those guys is Lance Ball, running back for the Denver Broncos. Now, look, the Broncos are hurting at running back. McGahee's out. Now we know Noshawn Moreno is out with the torn ACL for the year. So Lance Ball might actually be the guy. Could be a nice pickup for the next coming weeks if he is indeed the guy, and maybe for your playoff run. Same goes for Kendall Hunter, the running back for the San Francisco 49ers. Frank Gore had to leave last week's game with an injury. He's questionable this week against Arizona. So if he's out and Kendall Hunter's in, go ahead and put him in your starting lineup. Now, a couple running backs I'm going to tread lightly with this week. One is LeGarrette Blount of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The reason why? They're playing the best team maybe I've ever seen, the Green Bay Packers. And Green Bay is going to put up points. They're going to get a lead, and that will eliminate the run for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Plus, Blount was not very good last week. And I'm also going to tread lightly, not take out of my lineup, just tread lightly with LaShawn McCoy. This guy has been one of the fantasy MVPs all year. But now Michael Vick's a little banged up and questionable for the game. They're going on the road to take on the Giants. The Eagles are a hot mess. I'm going to play LaShawn McCoy, but I'm going to brace myself for maybe the worst fantasy outpouring of the year for LaShawn McCoy. Let's move on to the wide receivers position. A couple wideouts I like this week. One is Oakland Raider wide receiver Denarius Moore. He has become the favorite target of Carson Palmer. 123 and 2 touchdowns last week. Look for him to continue to get the ball from Carson Palmer. And again, Oakland is taking on Minnesota this week. And I also like Brandon Lloyd, finally, of the St. Louis Rams. He's there. He's got Sam Bradford. They're clicking. Got in the end zone last week. He's put up some good numbers since he's become a St. Louis Ram. Now, a couple wide receivers I'm going to tread lightly with this week. One of those wideouts is Vincent Jackson. Yeah, I have him too. Vincent Jackson is like the 6th highest rated wide receiver in fantasy football this year, based off of 2 games. Every other game, he's like 6 points or less in fantasy. He's the biggest hit or miss guy in the NFL right now, and I'm just getting sick of the misses. So I'm going to actually traded Vincent Jackson this week in my league, but I would tread lightly with him. And tread lightly with Steve Smith as the Panthers are on the road this week. Cam Newton's still a little banged up. I'm not liking that matchup for Steve Smith. Let's move on now to the sleeper of the week. Now, the sleeper of the week is a guy that maybe a lot of you don't even have on your roster or you don't even think about playing. I'm telling you, this guy might be good this week, and that's wide receiver Damian Williams of the Tennessee Titans, the former USC Trojan. Look, this guy is about to get or is trying to set a record where he gets a touchdown in 3 straight games. He's the go-to guy. He's getting a lot of looks and going up against an Atlanta secondary that isn't that good. They're ranked 23rd in the NFL. So Damian Williams, in a bind, might be a nice start at wide receiver he is your sleeper of the week. And the dud of the week this week is the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, the whole team. Cincinnati's about to find out what it's like to be the cream of the crop in the AFC because they're not. They're good, 6-3. They lost to Pittsburgh at home. Now they go to Baltimore. This is the meat and potatoes of their schedule, and it's not going to be a very tasty dinner for Cincinnati. So I'm staying away from all Bengals. Andy Dalton, not you would play him. Cedric Benson, A.J. Green, tight ends, defense, kicker. I'm not playing anyone that has a Cincinnati Bengal uniform on this week. That's it. That's how we do it. That's Ash's Fantasy Facts for week number 11. Again, a Thursday night game. Jets and the Denver Broncos. Plus 4 teams on a bye. Indy, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, and Houston. Take that all into account when you set your lineup, and let's go get a W in week number 11.